just have to be very still.
We are a part of nature. We are also animals. And it's funny how much we've forgotten that in the modern culture we live in.
Yeah. Everyone! Stop what you're doing!
She stands up for what's right. She's full of righteous anger. The paradox, of course, is she's connected to something bigger, that something bigger is threatened, so she hasn't found the peace yet that her grandma's talking about.
Because I'm so tired of feeling this way!
I don't think she's ever voiced that out loud. She's losing the only person that cared for her right now.
I love Mabel's line, it's hard to feel mad when you feel connected to something big.
We're doing a live episode, July 30th through August 1st in the Pacific Northwest, and August 6th through 8th in the Upper Midwest. There will be a Q&A, there will be merch, there will be VIP tickets where you get to meet and greet us. Tickets on sale. Come see us because we want to see you. You specifically, Jeff.
Hello and welcome to Cinema Therapy. I'm Alan Seawright, a professional filmmaker who needs therapy.
And I'm Jonathan Decker, licensed therapist who loves movies, and joining us today...
Nicole Grindle, I'm the producer of Hoppers.
I'm Dale Chong, I'm the director.
And we are in the bowels of Pixar again, my friend.
In the bowels. Why is it always in the bowels? Every time.
A true king would bear the lushness of his plumage for all to see.
They're gonna stop inviting us if we keep saying bowels.
So pejorative.
Yeah, and we're here to talk about Hoppers, which I absolutely loved. You guys made an amazing film. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I've looked at Box Office Mojo.
Box Office Mojo and then Rotten Tomatoes, both critics and audience scores. But most importantly, we liked it. So
that's all that matters.
So we're going to talk a little bit about perspective taking. We're going to review some clips. We're going to talk and get some insight from the filmmakers. I'm going to attempt to not cry. I probably will not succeed.
Gonna cry?
And if you haven't watched Hoppers, it's out now on Disney+, so pause this, check out the film, and come on back.
Although I recommend purchasing on Blu-ray, because physical media is great.
Yeah, actually, me too.
One of the big things that was a challenge for us was making people care about Mabel. And when we had the film without the scene in it, people found her to be kind of grating and angry, and they didn't understand what was
She's
motivating.
so abrasive.
And
right
honestly,
from the get-go, right?
Yeah, exactly. They didn't like her. And once you see what motivates her, you care more about her. And honestly, that's how you get the payoff at the end of the movie.
Yeah.
Because you understand what she cares about, and then you care about it. So that when she loses it, you really feel that deeply.
It's that Finding Nemo lesson, right? You have to have Marlin lose everything right at the top, or it doesn't. He's just
an
annoying.
overbearing dad, yeah.
Right.
Or Carl Fredricksen is just a grump, except for you see his story at the beginning.
Yeah.
Hmm?
And so, yeah, we really connect with her here. And I love this. I mean, this is obviously, in the psychological world, this is grounding, right? Mm-hmm. You're stressed, you're overwhelmed, you're angry, you're hurting, you're sad. Go out in nature. I mean, go out and touch grass is usually what you say as an insult, but it really is.
That's her touching grass moment, you know.
And she kind of gets what her grandma's trying to teach her, but it doesn't really pay off until much later in her story, in the movie.
Yeah.
You know, she doesn't really understand what all of this meant until later.
Feel better?
There was a lot of talk, because it's a very slow scene, and there was a lot of discussion throughout the years we were making this movie. It took 6 years to make.
Sure.
But this scene existed for a while, but there was a lot of conversation about it being so slow. Is it too slow? Exactly.
Right.
So we tried in a lot of different versions, moving it later in the movie as a flashback, something that maybe was diced up a little bit more. But what we realized is it has to exist in the beginning, because not only one, it has to kind of set up Mabel so, like everyone said, care about her. But it also helps the audience care about nature too, because you can't take for granted that everybody loves nature.
You have to get them to fall in love with Mabel and with the glade.
Exactly,
right?
That's right.
And the goal. So it really was, and they also have to learn how to appreciate it, you know?
Yeah.
And you're going on that journey with Mabel. So it became kind of impossible to tell this story without a slow intro. And we hope people stay with it because it's worth it. It's kind of what just allows the movie then to just take off from there.
Well, and it draws
So
you
in that way, it's very similar to Die Hard.
In fairness, it's the highest compliment he could give
Thank you.
Well, but that's the thing about nature is there is no rushed appreciation of nature. In fact, if you're rushing, you miss it. You have to take the time to slow down and draw it in. And so I appreciate what you're saying, because if there's a concern that this opening is too slow, you have Grandma inviting Mabel and the audience to slow down, to breathe in it and to appreciate and to take in all the little details, which is the only way that we truly come to appreciate the world around us. And when it comes to being soothed, like grounding, you need to slow down. Meditation is focusing on one thing and pushing everything else out. And it's so easy to do in nature. I mean, maybe you're focused on a million little things, but it's still just the one experience of being out there. And I love that this is both a emotionally soothing experience for Mabel and also a relationship bonding experience for her. And the film is conveying this message, get out more.
When we were making the film, I remember we were indoors all day, every day, so many hours, and I'd be so stressed out. And every now and then I would go outside and take a walk around the campus. And immediately I felt like my blood pressure was dropping.
Yeah.
And it literally, we needed to take our own advice while making the film and go out and breathe that fresh air.
Well, and this is our third time at Pixar, and we've always noticed and appreciated that you have built into the culture here, people can go outside and be creative out there. People go and they kick a beach ball around while they're having ideas. For the creative process, it's so good for thinking to get out. That is our home. That's where we started, was out there.
Yes, yes, yes. We are animals. As the movie says, we are a part of nature. We are also animals. And it's funny how much we've forgotten that in the modern culture we live in.
Yeah.
We took a research trip to Yellowstone, a couple of us early on.
I was wondering where your research trip
Yeah,
went.
it was Yellowstone.
It was the very first one.
And when Grandma says, stop, listen, and take in everything, that was something we were told to do when we went there. We went on this hike with this guide, and he basically took us out into the woods, and he basically had us sit there for 30 minutes.
At least.
At least.
Yeah.
And it was just sit there, just take it in. Everyone just take in your surroundings, don't say a word. And it was a very chilling experience in the same way, you just kind of sit there and you really take in the silence, and you take in, but then also the sound of nature and the world around you. And it's
So, Jono, if you had to wirelessly connect your consciousness to a robotic animal skin suit, you'd probably want a pretty solid internet connection, right?
I would. And I would trust Mint Mobile to get the job done.
This episode is sponsored by Mint Mobile.
Mint Mobile is here to rescue you with premium wireless plans, starting at only $15 a month. You can get premium wireless without the premium price tag.
I have switched to Mint Mobile, and I'm literally paying half of what I was on my old legacy carrier.
Wow.
And my service actually improved.
All plans include unlimited talk and text on the nation's largest 5G network.
Mint provides 5G coverage to 98% of Americans and 4G LTE to 99% of Americans. That's a lot of Americans.
You can get plans for 3, 6, or 12 months, and the more you buy up front, the more you save. Bulk savings, baby!
Switching is easy. You can sign up and activate in minutes with eSIM from the comfort of your own home. That's what I did. It took 4.5 minutes.
It's easy and it's all online. No stores, no salespeople.
At the link below, new customers can shop plans for Mint Mobile starting at $15 a month. That's not a lot of dollars.
If you like your money, Mint Mobile is for you. Shop plans at mintmobile.com/cinematherapy.
That's mintmobile.com/cinematherapy. If you don't like your money, I'll take it. Upfront payment of $45 for 3-month 5GB plan required, equivalent to $15 a month. New customer offer for first 3 months only, then full price plan options available. Taxes and fees extra, see Mint Mobile for details. Mint Mobile.
It's minty fresh.
Hey, Mabel, let's go back to the Super Lodge. We got some things to discuss.
George.
So this is the point where Mabel has actually accomplished exactly what she needed to do, and so she's done. Her story's done, as far as she thinks.
I was real curious, because this is what, minute 50? Where are we going now?
I think we're maybe 45 minutes in. The midpoint hasn't quite happened yet, but I think it's a point where, the audience might think the story's over.
Can't stay for long.
And so Mabel, for all intents and purposes, is done, and she can go home, but she is getting drawn into this community now. They've worked together, they've built this thing together, and Mabel, for the first time, is starting to feel what Grandma has taught her. I'm a part of something big,
Yeah.
I love the joke, by the way. Getting places up to 4 minutes faster.
It's so, meaningless,
I cackled. In the theater. Thank you for that.
But that's exactly the sort of meaningless accomplishment that, a politician would...
Yeah.
It's a human value. Those 4 valuable minutes I will use for something else.
Which we won't.
No.
We'll spend them scrolling.
But here we have the kind of getting to know you kind of moment, and now there's a moment where Mabel has kind of let down her guard a little bit, and now she can kind of connect with George a little bit, which is one of the big kind of arcs that she needs to learn, is how to connect and relate to people.
Yeah.
George is, of course, going to be the most open and willing to talk. And obviously, Mabel has to be cautious what she shares because she's also living a lie right now. She is not actually a beaver. But it's fine. George is happy to talk on his own. And he goes on, he connects with her with this thing with parents, and that's kind of the quick thing that they can connect with. But then George starts going into his backstory, which is, I think the joke here is some tragic Shakespearean kind of story that he's endured.
Hey, good news. Your movie's a hit. We got a prequel.
I wanted to point out a therapeutic value, though.
Hey, return from exile. You're the king.
He's being vulnerable. And I think he's kind of acknowledging that I'm a little damaged. This stuff happened to me.
Yeah.
It's okay. I'm forgiving my father. But he's making it safe for her, maybe, to share that.
Yeah.
Pretty different.
Well, and also,
I always thought everyone was trying
people
to take
who've,
advantage of him.
I hate to frame it this way, but it is his story. People who've been
Because everyone's
abused
good deep down,
are either very guarded
Yeah.
and shy about it, or they're very open like it's no big deal.
What about your dad?
And so,
He was just doing his best.
What about humans?
I don't know. They make some pretty cool stuff.
What about the guy who put up that fake tree?
I think if you gave him a chance, he just might surprise you.
No, he's horrible. Come on, George, you can't just go around.
but this is
trusting
George's
everyone.
survival
The
mechanism,
way I trust you.
right, is
Well,
to
I'm
see the good.
different. He's a human, and I'm a.
One of the other big kind of shifts that Mabel does through the movie is she goes from
beaver, I
kind of a
know.
pessimistic person towards the world and other people to optimistic person. And so George is the optimistic force that kind of pushes against her. And he, like he says, he sees the good in everybody, you know, and naively so, and, you know, to Mabel, but, you know, it's just the way he sees the world, you know. He chooses to see that it's good. He chooses to see that, you know, people could deserve a second chance.
Yeah.
My royal advisor, confidant, and eternal friend.
Obviously, a little fake out there that he was going to propose to her. They've already had some light sexual tension before this, so when this happens, I think the audience is primed to think like, oh no, what's happening now?
Honestly, the beaver sexual tension in a Pixar movie surprised me a little bit.
You know, I'll be
I
honest.
didn't
Yeah.
see it coming, but it was great.
one of the-
It was
It's a
very funny.
misdirect.
Yeah, I mean, one of the reasons it came up was
The suits aren't built for that, guys.
Yeah, yeah. It's abuse of the technology. It was.
Do you still wanna?
That's weird now.
One of the reasons we talked about that a lot was because we were looking at spy movies a lot for this movie, and there are spy elements of it. You know, she's
Yeah,
going
for sure.
undercover. And usually when there's a female character that's going in as a spy, it's kind of like they're there to seduce or to like trick the other side.
Yeah.
So I think that was us just having fun with the genre, you know, because that is the expectation is she's coming in to like woo somebody and then, you know, find out information.
Can I just point out how jealous I am of your job? In the past 10 minutes, you're like, we did a research trip to Yellowstone and we watched a lot of spy movies for research. And I'm like, that's not what research is. That's not how research works. It is when you work at Pixar.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
We're definitely spoiled. We get to endeavor into a lot of different things.
One of the other things that I love about this scene, too, is that he acknowledges how powerful she is. You need to be forgiving. You need to give people the benefit of the doubt. But he also is acknowledging that you need for there to be people who stand up for what's right, who say what's on their mind and aren't afraid of anybody, you know? That is so important, especially in a young female character, if I may say so.
Yeah, it is. He accurately describes her. And that's something that is great about George. The gift and the art of loving people, including people you barely know or are just meeting. It is true to truly love someone, you have to see them and understand who they really are. But people who are loving are always looking for that. George isn't seeing things that aren't there. Granted, there's parts of her that he's not seeing because she's not divulging, but he has accurately sized her up, what her strengths are, because he's constantly looking for that in the creatures that he interacts with. And every person I know who is genuinely loving, and it's not just a show, it's not just a mask, and it's not performative or trying to get something out of other powerful people. People who are genuinely loving are looking for what is in this person that is lovable, what is a skill, what is a talent, what is valuable. And it's pretty much always there. Now, you're right that it's kind of naive to a point because he talks about his parents. Oh my gosh, that backstory, guys.
Hey, return from exile. You're the king. And I was like, okay.
Makes Macbeth seem like a comedy.
He's like, they did the best they could.
Everyone wants to know more about the Twig Wars.
I mean, if I were doing therapy with George, I'd be like, George, it's important, yes, to arrive at they did the best they could and to give them that grace. And this is a great example of characters, just like people in real life, we need things from each other. Because she always stands up for what's right. She's full of righteous anger. The paradox, of course, is she's connected to something bigger, that something bigger is threatened. So she's got this righteous anger, but she hasn't found the peace yet that her grandma's talking about. Because her righteous anger is not balanced by optimism or hope. It is just jaded and cynical because since her grandma passed, she's had no one to back her up. And the fact is, George could use a little jaded and cynical, just a little bit. We don't want him to lose that sunny optimism or that beautiful, loving nature, but he's prone to get taken advantage of. He could easily be manipulated. And so they both need something from each other, and we get to watch them through the course of the film. He moves a little more towards center because of her and vice versa.
Yeah, one of the things that we talked a lot about is, this debate, as you say, about these two points of view and who's right is kind of what's at the core of all this. And ultimately, it would be too naive for us to just say George is completely right. You don't have to become naive. You don't have to become clueless.
Yeah.
You don't have to be taken advantage of. But you have to just have hope that maybe people could be different. Maybe they'll make the world that you want to make.
Yeah.
And I think that is kind of hopefully what people come out of the movie is that it's a mindset.
We often talk about this. Hope doesn't always lead to change, but if change happens, that's how it happens.
The change never happens without hope.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, hail Mabel, paw of the king.
I love that her arms are so short, so you can't
Oh my
really...
God, animators dealt with so much with how short those arms are.
Council!
Oh, right. Someone call the council, please.
That's like a real cute little...
Okay. Yeah.
We should be here any minute.
There used to be a scene in between these of like them calling the council, and it just took too long, so then we came up with that gag of just saying, someone call the council, please, okay? Now we're right into the boo scene.
It was sort of a joke that everybody needed to keep.
I mean, once you play that joke and you get the timing right, it's like, okay, we can't change this.
So regal.
So the thing to talk about is the movie deals with this concept of power a lot, and when it starts off, Mabel is a character who has no power. Jerry is a character who has all the power.
Sure.
And the question becomes, when you have power, what do you do with it? So Mayor Jerry is obviously using it to do some bad stuff. He puts up these trees that deter all the animals. Mabel feels like she's powerless. She has no power. When she hops into the beaver body and kind of meets these animals, suddenly she has a little power. She meets this council, suddenly she has tons of power. And then the question is, now when she has power, what's she gonna do with it? And she obviously goes a little too far with it.
She pulls a little Jerry.
Yeah, she becomes Jerry essentially. So, and then, you know, George is obviously a person who has power, but is using it correctly. He knows how to deal with it. He knows how to treat other people, and he knows what to do with that power to be fair.
When he accurately says, let me do all the talking, not because she's incompetent, but because she's new. He's experienced. This should be an opportunity for her to learn and grow into this role.
Yes.
Because like you're saying, she has power, but not experience. So
George knows how to work a room.
yeah.
Right.
And he knows that he knows how to work a room. Like, I love that he knows that about himself.
And she has tunnel vision.
Residents onto your badly overcrowded
She doesn't
shores.
understand a complex situation. She only has one single goal.
Right.
And he understands that this is a complex environment.
Yeah. This is actually the reason I became a family therapist instead of a psychologist. Is because I enjoy balancing all of it.
That's right. And it's a great metaphor for nature, right? If you only change one thing, you're going to throw a whole ecosystem off balance. And that's what beavers do, is they create an ecosystem that's balanced.
Mother, I wish to go home now!
What a waste of my time.
It is hard to deny, though, George is waffling a bit, you know, in this moment. So I think we also do understand why Mabel feels the need to step in. But the way she does it is a huge problem. She's basically scaring them into acting.
And she doesn't understand. She's playing with fire.
Fake tree. Look, this is you and your subjects living happily in your homes. But then Jerry puts this in there.
But yeah, one of the ways we kind of wrote and also casted the council was that they were all going to be on the older side. I mean, some of them, they aren't all older actors, but that they felt like they'd been in this position for a long time and they were the elder statesmen.
Wait, who is Jerry?
The mayor of Beaverton.
She's onto something good here, which is I have to appeal to what they care about to get them to care about what I care about.
Unbelievable.
But she's also doing the young hothead thing of I'm going to come in really hot, really angry, and get people fired up, which can backfire. Because you can...
Patience.
And she essentially is telling them a horror. It evolves it into, let me tell you a horror story about how terrible this is, and let me scare you into acting. And I think that is where it goes way too far.
It incites a mob mentality, which she's not going for.
Right.
And mobs get things done, but what mobs get done is destruction.
That's right.
It's all because of Jerry.
She hasn't thought it through.
No.
She's a young individual.
Which leads to, oh my gosh, the enemy.
All of the animal freakouts in this movie. Oh my god.
When we added those like squawks in between the dialogue of the Bird King, we were like, okay, I think we got the proper freak out character.
Breaking our very world with his.
And then the Insect Queen, the reason it's the insects that are the most
Powerful.
bloodthirsty is because they feel the most, they have the most numbers, but yet they are the most vulnerable. And so they have the biggest agenda.
They get squished the most, to be honest.
Squish the human king.
Oh.
And that is how an insect would defer to killing.
Yeah.
You guys, nobody in the theater was prepared for this.
We know.
I don't know that anyone laughed harder in that theater than Alan and I. We were the guys who were still laughing when everyone else had finally died down.
Disgust me. You call yourself intelligent? You're so
The key here was to make sure it didn't look purposeful, though. On Mabel's end, it had to look like it had to look like an accident.
Mom, the sound effect. Oh, you guys, and then she looks at it. Oh! And you can see like the residue on the wall.
But it's the epitome of what happens when you're young and you make a mistake, and it's so bad.
I'm glad we got away with that.
Oh yeah.
The audience response to this was Syndrome to Mr. Incredible going, that's a little dark for you. You know?
That sounds a little dark for you.
Is Pixar turning a corner when it comes to dark body horror humor and family films? Because you got to keep it grounded in the universe, but there's like faces coming off and melting off. And there's some Terminator-like stuff where there's like a robot underneath things. And all I know is that kids love it.
We would get feedback from parents in preview screenings, and they'd be worried about the kid, and the kid would be sitting next to the parent going,
No,
I'm good.
Yeah, it definitely was inspired a lot by the 80s films that I grew up with and the tonal shifts that a lot of those movies would have. Mm-hmm. But to what you're saying, I also think like there is something about being able to show some scary stuff and showing terror to really get that effect so that when you come out the other side, you do feel the exhale of like, oh, it's going to be okay. And I don't think you feel that unless you feel the terror and you feel the scares.
And to your credit, it's not just a dark joke. It has consequences for the rest of the film.
It means something.
It does mean something. And honestly, it would have played well just as a dark joke. But the fact that you went the extra mile is very meaningful. So negotiations go wrong. Family therapy goes wrong. You get a group together. Everyone values different things, has different viewpoints. How do you navigate that? She was on the right path when she says, okay, I have to appeal to what's meaningful to them. And the entire theme of this movie, to me, is perspective taking. This is why we get inside the hopper suits, is so we can experience the world through the eyes of these animals instead of from a distance. Perspective taking requires us to check our assumptions at the door, to check our understanding at the door, and actually ask the person who's living it, what's this like for you? I have a life rule, which is I never judge an experience I've never had. And then the experiences that I have had, I'm far less prone to judge anyways. And she starts off on the right foot, which is, okay, I have to show them why this matters to them, not just to me. And in order to do that, I have to understand them somewhat. She also needs to listen to her mentor, who is more experienced, and that is where she goes awry, because she tries to lead with just passion and she overshoots significantly. And then that just snowballs into one of the funniest tragedies I've ever seen.
So this is kind of the aftermath. Yes. It's a funny experience of trying to segue the comedy into what is a pretty serious scene,
right?
But yet still wanting the comedy to be present. You know, George in this scene is seriously mad at Mabel, but he says things like, "You squished my colleague," which is a very funny line. So this is us trying to navigate like drama, but in our way, you know, because I think if it veers too serious, you're just like, no.
Yeah.
It's a beaver with a crown. Come on, guys.
This is the key to great comedy, though, right? Like, the comedy is coming from...
my colleague!
We have complete buy-in to what this world is. It's funny to us because you squished my colleague. To him, it's deadly serious, and the fact that he's playing it deadly serious is what makes it funny.
And it is what he would say.
It is. It's brilliant comedy.
Because I'm so tired of feeling this way.
So this is the kind of big reveal in this moment. Mabel, this is the first time Mabel's letting her guard down and really saying what's on her heart. And what we're realizing deep beneath all the things, and we have never heard this expressed from her before, but we know it's true, is that she feels powerless. And it's very connected to even when she was a child and couldn't save that turtle. She was powerless. She couldn't do anything. She saw the turtle get put right back in the shell, in the glass kind of terrarium, and couldn't do anything about it. And that's kind of how she's felt her whole life. And that this is just another thing that she feels powerless to do. And I think we also talked a lot about how can this resonate not just for her as a character, but how we feel about the environment, how we feel about the world around us, how we feel about that we can't do anything.
We lose people and we can't stop that either.
Exactly. Right. There's just a lot in life and in the world that we cannot do on our own, and we cannot handle, and we feel powerless to do anything.
And just to say, for our consultants, this was particularly compelling. You know, young people who are working, you know, to save the environment and feel like they're not heard, that they're doing everything they can to bring people in to, you know, for whatever movement that they're a part of, and feeling that they're ignored. You know, you walk past the person who has the petition, you know, you don't want to be engaged. So I think that all of us think about that, is what is it that we're trying to accomplish that nobody else cares about.
And George coming in for the hug and saying, "It matters to you, it matters to me." This is the beginning of what this movie is about, which is it's about community, it's about connection with others, it's about not being alone in the fight. When we talked with our environmental organizers, who are our consultants, they said the way that they survive dealing with the tough issues and the rejection that they deal with is community. Community is the answer. And so Mabel here is getting her this lesson in how do I get through this feeling of powerlessness? It's by having a community around me that backs me.
And speaking of comedy and dramatic moments.
Oh, just a typical rule of threes joke. How?
How?
There is innate helplessness in our human experience. We're mortal. There are things that happen that are bigger than us. And I've been thinking this a lot the past few years, and I love the point about community, the people that we love, that we connect with, and that we're part of something bigger. For cinema therapy, the whole idea is, how can we help people have healthier relationships, greater mental health, greater emotional health? And then we connect with so many wonderful people. I mean, right here, right now, also our fans, when we engage with them, that gives us a sense of purpose and a sense of we're making a difference. But something I think about every day as I think of the environment, as I think of the geopolitics, is what can I do today? I feel helpless when there are things that are out of my control, and when I focus on the things that are in my control, it's easier for me to sleep at night. And sometimes the things that I can control is I can sign that petition, you know, or I can organize a movement, or I can go to a protest, or I can be part of something bigger. But also these little moments of I can extend grace to somebody who made a mistake. There's the bigger story here of we got to save the pond, and, you know, pond rules in this entire, but there's something smaller, which is just these two characters, where Mabel did ignore him. She did bulldoze and step right on it. And that's not okay. But understanding is not condoning. And there's a juicy little cocktail of accountability and forgiveness, of understanding where a person is coming from, not condoning the behavior, but also recognizing we all screw up, so we all need that grace from each other, and that's how reconciliation happens. And once again, at Pixar, you guys find a way to do it in your writing in a way that feels natural and organic and true to the characters, but also this was not an incredibly long scene. This would have been 3 weeks in therapy sometimes to get two people to come to this, you know, and you do it in 3 minutes and it nails it.
The thing that I love about movies is, in general, a movie is the moment that changes a person, right? This is the moment in Mabel's life that changes her direction from how she approaches it.
And I definitely think when she says, like, I'm tired of feeling this way, I don't think she's ever said that in her life. You know?
Right.
I don't think she's ever voiced that out loud. And that is a huge growth moment that only came because of this journey. And I think that means that she's now on a road to understanding who she is and how she can deal with this thing that's in her mind.
And you guys did an absolutely incredible job. This is a big emotional tell, don't show moment. In order to get a character to the point where this is happening, you have to have earned it. You have to have seen her lose her mom. You have to have seen her fail. You have to have seen her squish the insect queen and the consequences of that. And it probably helps to set this entire scene in an industrial wasteland. Right?
Yeah.
It just makes it more emotionally like everything has gone wrong for her.
And George is walking away from her, and our animation team and layout team worked really hard to just make you feel like she's losing the only person that cared for her right now that's still alive. And she cannot lose this relationship. So in a way, she blurts this thing out that's so honest because she's desperate to not lose that connection.
Yeah. And the real trick is to not wait until you've hit rock bottom or until you're about to lose somebody to be vulnerable with them. And it's scary to do that. But it's important when people show you that they are trustworthy. We need that community. We need that connection. And so to choose to do that ourselves and not wait until that last moment.
Yeah.
Because George is a cinnamon roll. He's safe. You can speak to him. So.
One other thing is that she takes what she learns in that lesson onto her interaction with Mayor Jerry at the end.
Yes.
Because she allows herself to be empathetic towards Jerry to some extent. And maybe as an older person and a producer, you know, I realize when you're young, you think that people who are authority figures or older than you should just be perfect. And to have empathy and recognize that maybe they make mistakes, they have vulnerabilities, and if you kind of assume best intentions, one of our show values, that maybe you can build a bridge.
If you do manage to build that bridge, it'll get you there 4 minutes faster.
Touche.
Okay.
This is just like Avatar.
This is nothing like Avatar.
Squish the humans!
Look, I am sorry I squished your mom.
And watch movies.